Hello, everybody. How's it going? It is What's the 411, and of course, it is your girl, Ms Ellie. I just want to thank you guys for joining me today. Yes, there we go. Thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate y'all coming through. It is June 1st, 2020. We are embarking upon a new month. So, that's huge, right? Sorry, there we go. That's huge. So I just want to really talk to you guys and let you know about my 30-day challenge. So we have a 30-day challenge that I'm starting on for this month. I just can't believe it's June, and I just came in from outside. I spent a lot of time outside in the sun today, so I am just feeling it right now. But yeah, 30 days, and this is a big challenge for me because I haven't done a challenge since my last workout challenge, which was good. But I'm going to take this up a notch. There are some goals that I really have set for myself, and I want to make sure that I am adhering to those particular goals. So it's all about planning for the next 30 days, goal setting, learning how to set proper goals, making sure that the goals that I'm setting I'm adhering to. So yeah, I'm really excited about this 30-day challenge that I've set myself up for, and I'm hoping that you guys will follow along the challenge and really, get excited about it. Get excited about the challenge. So last week, I hope you guys had a chance to listen to the interview. It was a great interview. We just went in and we spoke to Nathaniel J. Smith, and we spoke to him about a lot, what he has going on in his life, how he's made a bunch of different changes in his life, and then how he's held himself accountable for whatever it is that he's doing, and how he pushed himself forward in his life. So that was a great interview last week. If you missed it, I saved the interview properly, so make sure you hop onto my page and just check it out because it was a great interview. Today, we're very excited to hear from Nicole Salmon, the Purpose Coach. She definitely, if you've checked her page out, she's very inspirational, motivational, so I am ready to hear about her story. And of course, just hear about what she has to share with us, like all of her different experiences and such. So I'm very excited about that as well. Great way to start June. Today's a beautiful day, sunny outside, and I mean, it feels like, even though I probably spoke about this last week, even though we are in quarantine, it feels like there's so much going on. Like time has really, it's like we're in this warp zone like, honestly, like it feels like we're in a warp zone. I was talking to my friend about it the other day, and it just seems as though, I don't know, like time is really moving very fast, and weird things are happening. So you've seen, since the beginning of 2020, we've seen so much different things happening, and here we are, month 6, so we're 6 months deep in 2020, and what does the next 6 months have in store for us? So for the next 30 days, that's really why I want to dig deep and start to do different things. Start to do different things. Start to do different things, and really think about the goals and the plans that we have for 2020. So I'm very excited about that. So Nicole just jumped on. We're super excited to hear from Nicole today. So Nicole, whenever you're ready, just send the request in and we will start the conversation, because I know I'm super excited to hear about your experiences and your journeys and just the different things that you have to inspire us with, So here we go. Hopefully Instagram behaves for us today. There you are. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Can you hear me?
I can.
Awesome. Okay. So, all right, we're just going to jump right into it. How about you just introduce yourself and tell us who you are and what you do.
Sure. So, for those who don't know who I am, my name is Nicole.
We are seeming to have a little bit of a lag here. Hold on, let's see. Hold on. Instagram is just so rude.
Oh,
Oh,
weird.
there we are. Okay. It was frozen
Okay.
for a bit.
Yes.
Okay. So
Oh,
bring it back. Bring it back.
rewind it and do it
Yeah.
again. I am Nicole O
Yeah.
Salmon, minister and a purpose
Okay.
coach. And so I journey with women one to help them to mystify what purpose is so that they can live their life with consistency, with clarity, and with confidence. I'm also a wife. I'm a mother of a blended family of five. And yeah, that's me in a nutshell. I'm a mashup somewhere between that old church mother faces the front of the church and Ayana Van Zat. You can find me somewhere in between there.
Okay. Okay. So how did this all begin, the purpose coach? Like, where did that come from?
Hmm. Um, I think it really always was. So, um, much like I explained purpose. So, purpose is really, it's not a destination, it's a lifestyle.
Okay.
So that is the biggest mindset shift and understanding that we need to wrap our mind around about purpose. And so if we understand it as a lifestyle in terms of how God has uniquely styled us, as we begin to look back over our lives, we can start to connect the dots and see where certain things have really made clear sense to where we are today. So I've always kind of been telling somebody what to do, even from elementary school. Right?
Okay.
I was that kid taking peer leadership classes. Um, got into when I finished school, I was working with in the non-for-profit sector for years with managing life skills programs for at-risk. So I was always doing something around coaching, training, teaching. No matter what the job was,
Okay.
there was always an element of how can I support you from point A to point B. And not just in my paid job, but even with my family and friends. I think they would all describe me that way as well. So fast forward to leaving my job about 3.5 years ago, my 9 to 5. And
Mhm.
really, at the time, I was just calling myself a life skills coach. And really, I was throwing all my abilities at the wall just to see what would stick. And
Mm.
I started to notice as I was looking at old tweets and old posts and old notebooks and ideas that I had scribbled down like over decades ago, I was always talking about purpose. Even if I didn't use the word purpose, I was talking about
Mhm.
what we're here for, how we're designed, what interrupts that. And so one day, someone from the States was coming here to do an event, and someone referred her to me to be a speaker for her event. When we got on the call, like, well, what do you do? And literally out of nowhere, I was like, well, I'm a purpose coach. Like, it was the first time always playing around with how do I describe this thing that I do, and it just stuck. And I started calling myself that, and I started focusing my life skills niche into again not just like a general area of life skills, but really at the core. I always say if we get clear in here, we can get clear out here. So no matter what it is, when my clients come to me, if they feel confused out here, overwhelmed, they want to start a business, they want to write a book, they just want to get their love life straight. Anytime anything's not clear here, if we can get clear in here, everything out here gets clearer. So that's what I do.
Mm. Okay. So that's actually awesome. Purpose coach. What would you define as purpose?
Purpose is our lifestyle. It's our DNA, our divine natural ability. So like I said, that one of the biggest misconceptions is that we all have this one iconic thing that we were placed on this earth to do. And it is really it's an insatiable quest, really, if that's how we see life. And it's also not very biblical either. Um, what it would mean is there's only one thing that you're supposed to do in life, and you're the dark to find it. It means until you found it, your whole life doesn't have purpose. Well, that don't make no sense. Say you find this one thing. Let's say you're supposed to be the CEO of a Fortune 400 company, and then economic times turn, pandemic turns, and you lose that job, then it would mean that you've also lost purpose. And God, right? I believe that I believe in God. God did not take the time to design us so fearfully and wonderfully for our purpose, our function to be so fickle. So it's understanding your divine natural abilities and then learning how to show up consistently. When you understand what your giftings are, when you understand the unique way, the unique lens through which you see the world, when you begin to embrace it and show up in the world every day as that person, as that woman, as that is, and what begins to happen is you automatically start to find your life aligning with what I call these purpose pit stops, which change throughout the course of your life. So a lot of times, for example, someone has spent the earlier part of their life. Might have started the early part of your life as a ballerina instructor. This is a true story, kind of. Now is has a baking, and now has a coaching business. Coaches.
Sorry, 1 second.
No
1 second,
problem.
Nicole. 1 second.
No problem. Hey, Kim, Katrina, hi. Who else is on here? Hey, everyone.
Sorry, Nicole. We literally just got inside from outside, and these kids are just wilding right now.
I'm
So
into, so I'll tell you.
yes. Okay, so continue.
Yes, where were we? So we were talking about not a destination. So yes, when we show up, we find ourselves coming into these purposeful pit stops. So my client, ballerina instructor for years, then a baker, now has a coaching business where she helps to coach other bakers and cake makers to start their business. The two seem like they have nothing in common. But one of my gifts is the ability to see through to the core of complexity. For her, it's frustrating because she feels like, well, should I even be doing this business? What am I supposed to do? They have nothing to do with each other. For me as a purpose coach, I hear that, and right away I'm like, it makes perfect sense. The connecting dots is the instructing. Her purpose DNA, her divine natural ability is to teach someone a skill set. And so if you realize that you have an innate and natural ability to instruct and to you find joy and you shine in doing that, then the assignment to which you are assigned to, it changes.
Right.
And so our goal now becomes not what should I be doing, but how should I be doing it, no matter where I am. So even if life lands me at Starbucks and I don't want to work at Starbucks, I want to be a doctor, but for right now I got to pay these bills and I'm at Starbucks, purpose is alive and well, because the question becomes, how do I show up every day at Starbucks to still bring my DNA to wherever I am assigned to?
Right. Wow. Okay. So how did you find your purpose? I mean, you talked about always, helping others, helping your family members, but really where did that core come from?
I can't say so. I wouldn't use the word find. I think a better way to describe it is when we accept purpose. Right? Yeah, it's not fun. Because to find it makes it sound like it's something external to us, but really it's internal, right? And so it's really the life journey of accepting purpose. And so how
Mm,
is the long term and and really lifetime commitment to self-discovery. So for me, I think one, because of my natural giftings and probably because of the line of work that I've been in for so long. Like I said, I was doing, life skills programs and pre-employment programs. So I'm also a temperament theory coach level, master coach. So I'm always doing some kind of assessment, some kind of self-discovery. So I would say that the key to accepting your purpose posture is really to begin to immerse yourself in self-discovery and then accepting what you find.
mm. How hard is that?
It's a lifetime commitment. I wouldn't say it's hard at all.
Right.
I have a purpose clarity coaching program, and I journey with women. This program, it's a month-long program, and we usually start nailing it down by week 1.5, to be quite honest, because it's innate. It's not like we've got to now go on like the scavenger hunt to find this thing. It's really, how do I unearth, right? How do I
Mhm.
unearth and begin to accept what's there, and then begin to connect the dots. Like those, when when you're a kid and you had that book, and as you start to connect the dots, you're like, oh, it's you're the Grouch, or oh, it's a house, right? So as you
Mhm.
unearth the pieces and you begin to connect the dots, you realize that there's more continuity there, than you realize. And I know this is difficult, and I may be making it sound overly simplistic, and that's why I always tell people the biggest mindset shift you will ever have to make concerning purpose is this point, is the fact that it is not a destination. And sometimes I'll speak with women for like a month, right, of coaching and mentorship, and then they're like, yeah, this is good, and then they're like, but what am I supposed to do? They're still stuck on, what am I supposed, should I apply to this job or this job? Is it this place or this place? And the answer is
Mhm.
yes. The answer is whatever is in front of you, whatever your hands find to do it. And the fixation is no longer on what should I be doing, but how should I be showing up? And the more that happens, is the more your gift makes room for you and the right opportunities start to align. Because one of the pillars of purpose clarity in my coaching program is that right alignment brings right assignment. And you'll never find it until you get clear in here.
Mm. Okay. So, I mean, you
Learning.
talk about yeah, like I'm just thinking about it right now because that's like, honestly, I realized in my own personal life that if I wanted things to really start developing in my life, I needed to figure myself out. So that's really where I am. And I started doing a lot of different research on, your mind and pre-programming your mind or reprogramming your mind. I mean, because we've learned a lot of things growing up that we have to kind of unlearn and then relearn different things.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just all coming in. It makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
But talk about your faith. You are big on faith. I see you always posting about your faith, and it's clearly a pillar in your life. Talk about like how that has helped you on your journey.
Yeah, I think particularly, so as an entrepreneur or just overall, that's a big question.
Just, I mean, in both avenues, in your own personal life and then as an entrepreneur as well, because he fits in everywhere, right?
Absolutely. And I think that's the fit. It's almost like having a CEO, that's the blueprint for how this thing has to run, and you consult of your life or the business of your business. It's really the habit, the spiritual habit of consulting with God, who I see as my CEO. And so I think what's beautiful is that when you read throughout the New Testament and the life of Christ, he was quite the feces disturber. You know what
Mm,
I mean? He was
yeah.
constantly turning paradigms on their head, and it was messing with people. It was messing with their religiosity. It was messing with how they thought life should be done, which is why I consult him for everything, because he already knows the beginning from the end. And it takes the burden of the outcome off of me, because that part is his responsibility. My only responsibility is yes. That's all I'm
Right.
responsible for. I isn't that freeing? The one
Yeah.
thing in the world that I am responsible for is yes, Lord. He's responsible. You want me to have an event? Yes, Lord. So where's this money coming from? Where are the people coming from? Where's it coming from? It was yours. You gave this to me. Where the money at? Where the people
Mm.
at? What's the plan? How do we
Right.
do this? It's my marriage. All right, Lord. This man talking about whatever. I'm gonna pray about it and I'm gonna put it before you, Lord. These children are acting up. They're yours. You gave them to me. I'm just the babysitter. I'm just the babysitter.
Right.
You're saying, Lord. And so that is how I live my life. That is how I run my business.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. So that's it fits in perfectly. I mean, um, like how do you or how are you at ease with like you're just talking about, okay, yes, sometimes we get a little nervous. Like, are you ever having an event and as you
Oh,
mentioned, the people aren't there or you don't know where the funds
oh,
are coming from, like
always. But my only job is yes. And that's what I use to calm. I am always nervous every time. I'm not saying I'm just like, oh, okay, Lord, and I'm skipping through. Always. When I did, I have an international event or global event now, I can say, called Preach Sis. And last year when I was invited to host it in Atlanta, and I shared about this when I got back. When I left Toronto, we drove to Atlanta. When I left Toronto, 0 people had signed up for the event.
wow.
I didn't want to go to Atlanta. That was a door that God alone opened up. And I prayed about it and I was like, okay, God, so we go into Atlanta. 0
Mm.
people. Like, you think about what it takes to plan an event in your backyard, in your neighborhood. Talk about taking it across the border and all the planning and the money and the time off of work and everything that goes into planning that. When I pulled out of
Wow.
my driveway, 0 people had signed up and I had a negative balance in my bank account.
Wow. And then so how did it turn out?
By the time I came back, we came back with a financial surplus. A financial surplus, all because I said yes. When I pulled
Yeah.
out of my driveway, we prayed a short prayer. I said, Lord, there's like a negative account, like amount in my bank account. We're driving. Forget the expense of the event. Can we get some gas in the car? And while we were driving to the border, a client who was going to be starting with me paid for her for my services full, like just one time. Bum, you've got you. All right, all right. Not only do we have gas, but we gonna eat all right on this journey to Atlanta, right? And
Yeah.
it was just provision after provision. The people I met were amazing. While we were driving to Atlanta, a pastor from another city in Georgia called me and had arranged for me to preach at their church. So after my event, we drove to another city in Georgia, to Waycross, and so same thing at the end of the event. We had just under 20 people. It wasn't a sold out event. We had just under 20 people at Preaches in Atlanta. And the pastor of the church who I hosted the event there, before I got there, I was renting her space, and she said, like, say it was $500 for the space. She's like, send me $250. The Lord just says that I'm not supposed to take the full amount from you. Just send me half. Then when the event was done, someone got up and made an announcement after we were all hanging out. They're like, we know we paid to be here, but we want to bless the woman of God. They're like, do you have a cash app? We don't have cash app here in Canada. They're like, what you got? How can we bless you? I'm like, we need cash app. Because they were like, how can we bless you? And when I say, of those women that were there, less than 20 women, the amount of money these women paid to come to the event and then turned around and seeded into my pocket. And then we left and we drove. They had, again, we're not a lot of money. The pastor said, where do you stay? He said, check out of your hotel. we have a hotel booked for you. So that means I wasn't going to have to pay my own hotel fee for the rest of my time in Atlanta.
Wow.
He said, check out of your hotel and come into my city. Come closer. Just when your event is done, hop in your car. When I got there, he met me at the hotel. He checked me in. There was this big basket. He took us to dinner, paid for dinner. It was my husband and I. The next day we went out. I had a few of my Preach This t-shirts and a handful of, merch left. And I was just exhausted by then. And I'm like, my husband's like, where's your stuff? I'm like, I'm too tired. Plus, these people weren't even at Preach This. What do they care about no Preach This shirt? He's like, just bring it. I'm like, well, if you want to go in the car, you go get it, because I'm tired. So my husband went back and came in and gave it to like the lady who was like my assistant for the morning there. And it wasn't a huge church. I preached. They financially blessed my socks off for preaching there that morning. Again, took us out to dinner and stuffed us. And then the lady who my husband gave the merch to, like, just handed me an envelope. She sold everything. I'm like, why are people buying Preach This shirts? They were at Preach This.
Wow. That's
And so that's what
amazing.
I mean. That's what I mean. And so faith, for me, like people describe faith as being blind faith. It's evidence-based faith. If God has a consistent track record of when you say yes, and I mean, not everything always ends like that. You know what I mean? There are times where you're like, okay, Lord, what was the point of this? You know what I mean? No one registered. I've had events, at least 3 events where no one registered. Right?
Yeah.
But each time I launched, I was learning something. I didn't lose. I was exercising a muscle. I was learning how to market. I was learning how to use different software. I was learning something. And so it's not blind, it's evidence-based. And the evidence has always been that my event sells out, praise the Lord. And if my event sells zero,
Instagram is just acting up. Let's see. Oh,
there we go.
okay, you're back. It froze, yeah, a little bit. Oh gosh. Here we go again.
So that's been my journey.
Wow. That's amazing. So talk about Preach Sis. What is Preach Sis? What is it all about? Did you freeze again? Okay, what we're gonna do is maybe we'll stop the video, pop out, and then pop back in. It might work a little bit better that way. Let's try. Okay, so let's see if Nicole will pop back in, because that was just not working. It started freezing up. I mean, it was freezing a bit, but we could still get the message. But let's try it again and see if we can get her, because this is a whole message. Okay, there we go.
There we go. Hopefully this is a better connection.
Yes. Yes. Okay. So yes, let's talk about Preach Sis. Tell us all about it. Like, what is this event?
Yeah, so Preach This is a global event and movement for female Christian communicators who feel like they have a message to share, but don't necessarily fit the traditional mold of a Pentecostal style type preacher, right? And so the event is really, it showcases a diversity of speaking styles, and also includes a Q&A component, which has really been the gravy, the meat, the juice, of the event, where the ladies who are present get an opportunity to not only see but interact and talk to these women who have a calling on their life to share, whether it's preaching as a preacher in a pulpit, keynoting, those who maybe have a gift to speak and a message to share, but are choosing to do so through academia and professors. Really, it's just to create a platform to showcase these women, and to not only give them exposure, but to expose other women to something different from what they may see on a Sunday morning in a traditional Black Pentecostal church.
Wow. So how did you start Preach Sis?
Again, it was a yes. I kind of got this idea of, wouldn't it be nice to gather some of the women in the GTA on one stage, instead of, one over here with 15 people coming out, another over here with 25. What if we brought a bunch of us together with our own fellow audiences, and shared our message on the same platform? And so really that's how it started. I had never done an event per se before. I prayed and thought about who I wanted to involve, and it wasn't a formal process. Like, I literally just picked up the phone. I didn't have a speaker's deck. I do now. After the fourth one, I do now. But the first one, I had nothing but my phone in my hand, and I said, "Hey, here's my vision. I want to do this thing. I'd love for you to join me. I don't really know anything about doing events, so like, will you journey with me to make this thing happen?" And everybody was like, "Oh my God, yes!"
Wow.
And so actually, before it became an event, I had and have a WhatsApp group called Preach Sis. And so before the event, it really started with a WhatsApp group where different women, I would preach different places, and young women who felt a call to ministry or preach, or who were in ministry but didn't have mentors, reached out to me, and they were like, "Hey, like, can I shadow you? Like, if you go preach, can you tell me when you're preaching? Can I come?" And I would always forget to tell people. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to throw you all into a WhatsApp group. And that way, when I'm preaching, I'll just be like, "Hey, I'm speaking, who's available?" And that's how it started. And so in the WhatsApp group, I started sharing. It's real personal, right? Just like the event how it turned into the event. I share everything. I document and share everything with these women in this group, and they have access to me to ask questions and learn as well. And so then it turned into an event. And when I thought, well, what should I call it? I'm like, Preach This, because that was the name of the WhatsApp group. And so really it was an overflow of that. While I was preparing for the very first Preach This here, someone from Atlanta who I did not know reached out to me and was like, "I love your vibe. I love what you're doing with Preach This. We'd love to have something like that in our city." I was like, "Say word." Like, okay, I said, "Let me get this event under my belt, and then I'll reach back out to you." And so I did. Once we got Preach This GTA off the ground, I was like, "Okay, Lord, like, do I trust this? I don't even know this person. I don't know no one in Georgia. Like, I'm just going to pick up and go to Georgia, and I don't even know how to have an event in another city." But I did. And again, I just did what I was responsible for, which was say yes. And when I said yes, everything just started to just go boom, 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 boom. And before I knew it, we were packed up in our family van and we were driving to Georgia.
Wow.
So
And you say it's global now.
It's global now. So we started in the GTA. We had 97 women. It started out as a free event. Yeah, very first one. 97.
That's amazing.
City for and showing up for Preach Sis. Went to Georgia, and we had just under 20 ladies. And then, so that was last year. And so this year, went virtual. Went virtual with the event because of the quarantine and the pandemic. And so going virtual meant also going global, because we sold out the first time around at 100 and reopened ticket sales and ended closing at 160 women from the Middle East, from the United States, South Africa, from Trinidad and Tobago, Jamaica, like literally from across the globe were registered to attend the event. And so we just wrapped up Preach This, the virtual experience, and it was a huge success. And now I was gonna say the pressure's on. But I feel a little
Mm-hmm.
bit better for 20. I already know what's bubbling up in my heart, or what the Lord has bubbling up in my heart for 2020. So yeah, that's preach, sis, in a nutshell.
That is amazing. Well, you got to big up yourself for that one, Nicole, because that
Hey,
is
hey,
like, oh, that's some big
right.
work.
Yeah,
Wow. And
yeah.
saying yes, saying yes.
Just saying yes. Right alignment brings right assignment. And it wouldn't have happened if I didn't have an understanding of how God wanted me to show up in the world. Because especially as a minister, I think as I was gonna say as a minister, there's a mold, but I think almost anything you want to step into has a pre-prescribed mold that is
Mm,
socially constructed around how it's supposed to be. If
right.
you can get comfortable enough with who you are to be like, this shoe don't fit, right? I'm not gonna get no corns up in here trying to like walk this thing out because someone else feels it needs to look away. Um,
Yeah.
but that's why purpose is, again, it's about understanding what God's put inside of you, and me being comfortable showing up with my hoops and my shaved sides and my locks and whatever else comes with the package. And sometimes, the language is real sophisticated and academic, and sometimes it's a little ghetto and ratchety. That is who I am. That is how I am called to show up in the world. Because you know what, when God was calling me into ministry and putting and trying to reveal to me that there was a gift in me, I would not accept it because nobody looked like me. So I
Mm,
thought there was no room for me. I was a single mother. I didn't know no baby mama. I always tell this story. I didn't know no baby mama preachers, right? And I'm just like, this can't be for me because I don't look like the other preachers that I see around me. And on top of it, most of them are men. And if they were women, they didn't look like me. They weren't edgy like me. They didn't talk like me. They didn't move like me. So, and they didn't have baby daddy. That was for sure.
yes.
So when I could accept bringing all of me to the table, when my life finally got into right alignment with who I am, rather than being fragmented, like part of me, like, at work I show up like this, at church I show up like that, at home I'm like this, with my girls I'm like that. When it started to come into alignment, then the assignments started to come. Last year I
Mm,
had 40 over 40 speaking engagements last year. I did
wow.
not pay for one.
Mm,
I just started accepting instead of fighting the tension of warring with what's naturally inside of you. I just started
mm,
bringing it to the table. I just started showing up and bringing it to the table. And then people were like, I was on a panel at an event, and I was the first speaker, spoke, felt good about what I shared. Then the next speaker spoke. And she shared a very personal story, and people were like, yes, glory. And I was like, oh my God, I didn't share a personal story. I have great personal stories. And then the next person spoke, and she was real fiery, and she was like, ah, da, 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 yeah, da, 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 da. And I was like, I have the Holy Ghost too. I didn't speak in no tongue, no Jesus. Like, and so I had to be like, Nicole, calm. Nope, 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 nope. Stay right where you are. Continue to deliver right where you are. And at the end of the event, there was a woman there from the States who was like the head of some international something something for women down in Connecticut somewhere. And she came, she was like, can I talk to you after? I was like, yeah. When she came, she's like, yeah, I've been newly appointed to this position, and we're planning our women's conference for next year. And ever since I came into the position, I've been saying to myself, our conference needs something different. But I didn't know what it was until I heard you. And I said, that is what we need. I share that not to be like, oh, I'm such a good speaker. Look at, I share that to say there was a platform of several different women whose gifts,
right.
we were all ministers, all preachers, all called to do the same work of Jesus Christ, but our gifts presented differently. And because I stayed in right alignment, if I fell into the pressure to be like, and like, mind you, I can hoop and holler with the best of them when I'm ready too. That just wasn't the vein that I was in that day. I was very much in my teacher hat was on, and God was like, stay right there, teach the people, instruct, stay right there. This is not shout Nicole day. This is coach Nicole, and I coached from the couch on that event. And she said, I knew we needed something. I didn't know what it was until I heard you. So when we come into right alignment, the assignments begin to find us. But as long as we're still scrambling, going, where's purpose? Where purpose at? Where purpose at? Well, purpose over here.